For patients who may only associate psilocybin with its recreational history, how would you explain the difference between that and psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy as it's conducted in a controlled clinical environment?
Probably a lot of people like will think, how come a surgeon is like dealing with psychotherapy or psilocybin? So just to make this connection a little bit clearer before I'll answer the question is that one of the things that we've discovered is that cancer can hijack the nervous system. And for years, we were looking at how we can hijack it back, meaning how we can reprogram the nervous system back to help the patients. And it keep coming back, that a group of agents called tryptamines, known as psychedelics, have the capacity to induce neuroplasticity. So you're asking about recreational use versus a controlled use, and there's a big difference. When we're looking at psychedelics, the two most important things are the set and the settings. And you've probably heard about this. So the set is basically the mindset. It's not just about like, hey, take a pill and go home and have fun and have your own party. It's more about to get the patients to a mindset that will be constructive and beneficial for them. So the psychedelic oncology program that we're putting together here, or initiative, is basically giving the patients a package. They're not just getting the drug, the medication. They're receiving a whole package that includes, of course, the dosing days with psilocybin, but they're also receiving psychotherapy. It's some sort of talk therapy that is very different from the psychological, intervention that a lot of us are familiar with, the cognitive behavioral therapy. It's more about, acceptance and commitment and leaning towards the storm, and setting your intentions. So after we're doing this in a couple of preparations, sessions, we're having a dosing day. The patients are coming here. We're built, a room in different buildings, so it will be less medicalized in a sense and more kind of like receptive or more or a little bit nicer for the patients. And then we'll do the dosing. Dosing is actually we're giving the patients the psilocybin. It's a therapeutic dose. It's we're not giving mushrooms if this is what people are thinking. But we're giving the actual active ingredient within the mushrooms. It's called psilocybin, and there are two facilitators or monitors in the room that help the patient to go through the experience in the safest possible way. And this is the settings. So the settings have to be safe. We have to make sure that the patient won't, jump out of the window. We don't want him to run to the street and get hit by a car. Um, this is the second component, which is very different from recreational uncontrolled use. And of course, after the dosing, when the patient is ready to go, they're going home with, a family member or a friend, and then they have a couple of integration sessions. The integration sessions can be done in person or virtually. And a week after, they're receiving the second dose of psilocybin, followed by some more integration. So basically, the feedback that I'm getting from patients, it's like you've condensed 2 years of therapy in like 14 days. So it's very impactful, but it's done in a really safe and controlled and monitored way.
Now, this trial specifically looks at patients who are undergoing maintenance therapy. Why is this particular phase of the cancer journey such a critical time to address psychological health, and how does mental well-being impact a patient's ability to thrive during long-term treatment?
Well, yeah, this is a great question. The TREAT trial is one out of three trials that we're currently, running at MD Anderson, and we designed it for patients that are undergoing treatment. So, with the advancement in cancer, care, we have a large population that are being treated with either immunotherapy or targeted therapy. And those patients, in some instances, we cannot eradicate cancer, but they live with cancer for many years. Um, it's revolutionized, for example, breast cancer. A lot of patients are on CDK inhibitors, and they can live even with metastasis for up to 10 years. And living with cancer is so they're not dying because of cancer, but it brings a whole other bag or sack of problems in the form of anxiety, depression, existential crisis, fear of death, constant fear of death. And while we're not really, you know, looking at depression in a systematic way, those patients cannot go back to their normal lives. So we designed this trial in order to allow them live their life with cancer. We're not changing the cancer. We're not making the cancer disappear. We're just making this something that they accept and they live with.
This research is part of a larger cancer neuroscience program. How is our understanding of the crosstalk between the nervous system and cancer evolving, and why is MD Anderson prioritizing this intersection?
So the nervous system is one of the newer hallmarks of cancer. Cancer have different drivers that causes cancer, and different things needs to happen in order for cancer to actually start and progress. And in the past few years, I would say like in the last decade or so, there are more and more evidence filing that are showing that the nervous system is an active player in this, thing called cancer. It supports tumor growth. It affects the response to treatment. It affects the body response to cancer, like the immune response. And the beauty of this field, of this hallmark, that it was built upside down. Unlike immunotherapy, that it took us many, many years to find the targets, and then many more years to develop the means to block them, like the checkpoint inhibitors. In cancer neuroscience, we already have the tools. We have drugs to target almost every branch of the nervous system, either stimulate it or inhibit it, because we're using this for neurology, psychiatry, and other, indications. So we have the tools. So many of them are out of patent and they're affordable. So now we just need to find the target. We already know that nerves initiate cancer, that nerves support cancer progression and metastasis. We know that nerves can also affect the response to treatment. So with this knowledge and finding those targets, it makes it really easy for us to actually act on those targets. And MD Anderson, the cancer neuroscience program at MD Anderson, is actually in the forefront of this research because we're looking at it in a very comprehensive way. And the psilocybin is actually the psychedelic oncology is a beautiful example. We're not just looking at the direct interaction between the nerve and a cancer cell. We're looking at the emotional effects, the toxicities associated with their treatment. We're looking at the behavioral effect of cancer. All of those are mediated by our nervous system, and all of those, not less importantly, are targetable.
Mental health innovation in oncology is often overshadowed by the search for new anti-tumor drugs. What is your message to the medical community about why psychological interventions like this are a must-have rather than a nice-to-have in modern cancer care?
As an oncologist myself, and I treat a lot of cancer patients, our primary goal, and this is MD Anderson mission, is to eradicate cancer. And then, you send the patient home. And there are many circles, starting with the patients, that are being affected. The patient goes home and then they need to go back to work. They need to be, a good partner. They need to be a good parent. And for many of them, and this is underreported, sometimes the patient failed to report. Sometimes we don't ask. And when it's underreported, and we don't know and we don't act on that, they're just not going back to society. We don't want just to give people life. We want to give them life worth living. We want to give them the best version of themselves, as close as possible to be what they were before they were diagnosed with cancer. So, the first thing is to ask and to talk to the patient. Hey, how is your mood? How do you sleep? How's your appetite? Um, did you go watch a movie? Did you go do some stuff that you used to go fishing, go hunting? I don't know. Everyone's doing some other things to have fun. Um, and this is not like an extra. This is our commitment, right? We need to give people like to put them back on the track where they were. So um, the standard of care in psychiatry, it's very successful in many realms, but we know that in cancer patients, especially those cancer patients that live with cancer, those under maintenance therapy that we talked about, it's a really tough challenge to tackle because they live with the deadly disease in them. Like they've experienced the worst thing that can happen to someone. They're not depressed because of a life event or that shook them off. They almost died. So we need something that will be more impactful and will allow us to do this in a shorter period of time. And that's where psychedelics comes into place. They induce those changes very fast, and the effect is durable. So unlike SSRIs that you need to keep taking them, um, with psilocybin, we're looking at only 2 doses. Some studies showed only 1 dose.